Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 32, and a very late one for me too, as this is being filmed for me almost 2:30 in the morning because we couldn't do it on a normal day. So, what are today's topics that hopefully we can go through very quickly?
Fair use, Supreme Court on abortion, bad woke crap from left and right, homophobe destroyed, COVID crap, mania bans, conversion therapy, the Donbass war, flower, and farmer strike.
Okay, so first we're going to talk about the fair use stuff. And of course, before I begin, since it's 2:30 in the morning for me, I can't be too loud as I normally am, or I would be castrated in the morning, so gotta be as low as possible. So anyways, we're talking about fair use because, as I mentioned in the last episode when I uploaded, it actually got not copyright claimed, it got blocked worldwide. Now, why was that? Because it was a part of the counter-arguments video that we covered in the last episode. It was a Daily Show clip where Jon Stewart was destroying Bill O'Reilly. It was only like 30, 40 seconds, and I thought, because the reason why I have, when we play videos on the top side view, because that's one of the ways to get past like a visual copyright claim, and not have the entire screen showing up. So that's why, big reason why I have it up there, but unfortunately, it still caught it, and it got blocked worldwide, and I had to re-upload the episode that day with the episode that part cut out. But I still challenged it, and thankfully, in a very rare move, it actually got resolved like the next day, and it was successful fair use counterclaim. So the original episode was up. But here's where it's really annoying. Why was it Why was it blocked worldwide in the first place when it was so obvious it was fair use? Like, for fuck's sake, YouTube. And it's not just a YouTube thing, it's all copyright crap. The whole entire thing needs to be reformed, or in our ways, or at least for me, radical thing, maybe just straight up abolish it, because fuck copyright if it's going to be doing stupid crap like this. And of course, I found out one of our episodes too got demonetized because the episode we were talking about Bill Maher in one of them, so I'm challenging that as well. So yeah, what do you have to say about this? Because it's not just a thing that affected me, this affects a whole bunch of all of YouTube. That was a thing, remember, back in 2016 with Where's the Fair Use, remember?
Yes, I remember that. Because Team 4-Star, 3 million subs at the time, they got their channel taken down about 3 times in something like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and they're like, that guy who was saying, look, would only be fair use for the big guys, but not for the little guys. And Drunken Peasants pointed out that the 3 million subscriber Team 4-Star had their account removed because of fair use bullshit.
Yeah, because that clip that we showed about that had the Daily Show clip in it, that was us commentating on Counter Arguments video, who ironically was also commentating over the Daily Show clip shown as an example about privilege that we were talking about in the last episode. It was all fair use. We are watching a clip and we were talking about it. There's no reason why it should have been blocked worldwide in the first place. It should have been like straight up obvious from the start. It's that stupid audio and video, I can't remember what they call it. Whatever YouTube has a bot that just automatically detects it and just flags it instantly. You need to be...
Yes.
Yeah, that's why you should not be using fucking bots. I don't care if it's too much of a workload for you. They suck. And it's so obvious. The fact that I had to counterclaim it, and it was so obvious that in a very rare moment they actually not only changed it, but within like a day or so of my claimed it, because usually it takes like over a month for it to expire, or it'll say, nope, we think it is not fair use, so fuck you. Like a very rare win in that regard for me so quickly. Like, it should have been so obvious from the start it was fair use. So, fuck YouTube for blocking the episode when it first happened. And stop going after other YouTubers. And this is not just YouTube itself, it's also YouTubers that go after like people that criticize them like they do to copyright claims too, remember, and other false BS like that. It all just needs to stop.
I know it's not like Daw himself, but I know that a lot of the ones he calls shitlibs, they get. I've got to bring this down a bit. They get Oh God, Pete.
What?
Hold on, I'm doing some quick surgery here. Okay, there we go. That's better. Now I'm not deafening my OBS. So anyway, what it was is that the ones that Jimmy Dore called shitlib tub fags, he doesn't use tub fag part, but you can tell he really wants to. They get false flags regularly. Tons like a bunch of doorknobs try to take down their videos when they got Blumenthal, Glenn Greenwald, etc.
And I remember all the times where I played Kyle's videos too. They would always get copyright claimed by TYT.
Oh yeah, TYT are not much better in that regard.
Alright, so I think we've talked about that enough. So hopefully, when we play another video again, which we're going to in this episode, it would be nice if it didn't get copyright claimed or, importantly, blocked worldwide. Alright,
Yep.
So now the next topic you want to talk about.
Supreme Court and abortion.
Okay.
No fucking surprise for this one.
So,
Basically, they've decided, yeah, Texas, go ahead, ban abortion and allow vigilantes to go around destroying shit.
well, there's actually two things to talk about. Because when we last talked about this back in September, it was about the Texas case, which the Supreme Court, in a very rare thing, said, you can go continue doing that while we talk about Roe v. Wade later on. Because usually when stuff like this pops up, they're forced to not do it until like the Supreme Court deals with it. So the fact that they let them get away with it is pretty pathetic. But there actually was an update to the case, as I posted it earlier somewhere. Where's it at again? Oh yeah, so I saw this on Twitter the other day. The Supreme Court leaves Texas's 6-week abortion law in place, allows providers to continue lower court challenges. This is an update from before about allowing people to sue them still to challenge it. So maybe there's still so maybe there's a chance it could still be overturned, hopefully. We can only hope. But that's not the big concern. The bigger concern is another one, of course, in Mississippi that was just talked about recently. Now, of course, before we mention this, if some a decision is going to happen, it won't be till like, from what I've heard, not till next June or something like that. So it's going to be several months from now before we know the actual result. When I found out too, according to sites I read, supposedly the Supreme Court already makes up their mind like very soon afterwards, like they have the vote, but then they spend the next several months like writing their dissents and all that. Like, really, you gotta take that long? Like, why?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's really stupid. But unfortunately, as I get to that again, let me go. Where was that article at? Man, I need to get this shit like reorganized again. Gotta do a lot of editing, as you can see. Oh yeah, CNBC. Here we go. Supreme Court hears arguments in major abortion case challenging Roe v. Wade. So this was update. The Supreme Court is about to hear arguments in the most significant abortion case in decades, throwing into doubt the future of Roe v. Wade and other long-standing rulings that have upheld the rights to an abortion. The case, Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization, will be heard Wednesday. This was a while ago. This is like almost 2 weeks ago. It centers on a Mississippi law that would ban almost all abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Lower courts blocked the law, ruling that it violates the rights enshrined by the Supreme Court's decision on Roe v. Wade and the 1992 Planned Parenthood v. Casey. Taken together, these rulings have held that states cannot ban abortion before the point of fetal viability, around 24 weeks of gestation, and that laws restricting abortion should not pose an undue burden. The Mississippi case marks the most direct challenge to those rulings in nearly 3 decades. It will be heard by a historically conservative high court, in which 6 of the 9 justices were appointed by Republican presidents, including 3 of them by Trump. The petitioners, Mississippi State Health official Thomas Dobbs and Kenneth Cleveland, argued that 15-week abortion ban should be upheld because the U.S. Constitution does not support the right to an abortion, since the law is at odds with the pre-viability abortion protections of Roe and Casey. The petitioners argue that the precedent established by those 2 cases should be overturned. Roe and Casey are egregiously wrong, Mississippi argued in a court brief. The conclusion that abortion is a constitutional right has no basis in text, structure, history, or tradition. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are also not enshrined by the Constitution. I mean, we should take them out?
Probably what they believe.
Yeah.
Things like black people not being slaves, women having the right to exist, other minorities having the right to exist.
And also, if I remember correctly, Mississippi was like the last state to actually ban slavery, and that was like in 2000.
And yet they probably still have the greatest slave population per capita in America.
Especially since I remember it was a poll like 10 years ago that the plurality of Republicans in Mississippi, or one of those states, think interracial marriage should be banned.
No fucking surprise.
The state officials also say that Roe and Casey are outdated, pointing to advances made in the accessibility of adoption services and contraception, as well as scientific advancements made about the understanding of fetuses.
I think we're back to 21 weeks now, but that's it. And realistically, you're not going to get back much further than that.
Yeah, not anytime soon. Because we're not at the point yet where the fetus could be just taken out of the mother's body, live, and no longer need abortion in that regard. Because we still need it, because that technology is still not there yet. If the Supreme Court does not overrule...
We're just never going to get it to that stage. There's just bits that we're never going to be able to replicate. We're being required to keep the fetus alive below, I think it's about 18 at absolute most.
And that's being very lucky, too. If the Supreme Court does not overrule Roe and Casey outright, Mississippi says it should at minimum uphold the state's 15-week abortion ban and rethink the protections of pre-viability abortions. Jackson's Women's Health Organization, the only abortion provider in Mississippi, and Mississippi is still a pretty big state in terms of land area. That's pretty bad that they're the only abortion provider in that state, because that's what Republicans always try to do.
The people there who want to provide abortions are at risk of being shot if they stay around too long.
Yep. In court filings urged the Supreme Court to reject the invitation to jettison a half-century of settled precedent and to abandon the rule of law that this court has said uniquely implicates the country's confidence in the judiciary. Because pregnancy so intensely impacts a woman's bodily integrity, her liberty interests are categorically stronger than the state's interest until viability. Yeah, this is a big reason why abortion needs to be legal, because guess what? It does affect a woman's both bodily autonomy and also economic interest too. It massively affects a woman if she's pregnant, regardless if she wants it or not, or anything like that. If they're free, they need to be able to control their bodies. And if they don't want to have the kid, they need to be able to have the abortion. End of discussion. The right to choose whatever to have an abortion established by Roe and reaffirmed by Casey over the course of 2 generations has been further cemented as critical to gender equality. Like I said, because this is one thing that women have that men don't. They get pregnant, we don't. If we're going to treat them equal, we need to be able to give them the right to be able to control their bodies, and that includes abortion, you fucking pro-life retards. The court is expected to issue... What?
They're pro-fetus.
Yeah.
Because they don't give a shit about them until they're born.
They're pro-birth, remember?
Yeah, pro-birth, and then that's it.
Yep.
That's it. We want you to die.
Yep. The court is expected to issue the ruling by early July. So, there's nothing really to say about this. The first thing I want to talk about, because, oh my god, we talked about this in last time we brought up the abortion case. I want it to be fundamentally mentioned once again that people keep blaming all of us Bernie bros and everyone that didn't vote for Hillary in 2016. It's all your guys' fault that we're in the situation right now. If you just sucked it up and voted for Hillary and see what, we would not be in the situation. Wrong. If Hillary did win, the Republicans still would have had the House and Senate. And guess what? They would have blocked all of her Supreme Court nominees, just like they did for Obama.
They would have just gotten rid of the Supreme, just had no justices on the Supreme Court.
They would
just so they can fill all nine of their own.
They would block
Mitch wants as part of his fascist dictatorship.
They're going to block her, just like they did with Obama, and then in 2018, instead of the Democrats winning the House, the Republicans would probably increase their lead since Hillary would be the president. So, she would have been blocked the entire time she was president. So, no, we would have been in the exact same situation no matter what. So, don't fucking blame us who didn't vote for her for why we're in the situation right now. It's a debunked argument, and I don't want to hear it anymore. Now, on to the main thing itself. We don't know, of course, what's going to happen, of course, because the Supreme Court, despite that stupid cunt that Trump put in recently, they've made like really contradictory like arguments over like the last year or so when it comes to like social issues. I remember they did like yeah, so we actually don't know.
Literally being a QAnon Trumpist, they haven't done QAnon things.
Like I think we covered. They did like either like a pro-gay, pro-trans, or pro-abortion thing like earlier this year or something like that. We covered that, and of course they didn't. They stopped Trump's attempt to take over the government since he lost the election and all that crap. Yeah. So we don't know what's gonna happen, but of course, even if they were to go after Roe v. Wade, the question is, what would they do? Would it just go back to the states? Which, of course, if it does go back to the states, there are a lot of states, including mine, and thankfully for my being Washington State too, where abortion would be legal in the state if Roe v. Wade was overturned. So, for a lot of states, it would be literally no different, thankfully. But unfortunately, a lot of others, that would be the case.
Abortion clinics would be shot up and blown up regularly. Abortion providers would be massacred. Even people who get abortions would be probably rounded up and shot.
Yeah, and then of course the other question is, would they go all the way to ban abortion completely? And of course, if they did actually make that like a federal law somehow, well, remember, Establishment Clause, so states that actually do have abortion legal, it doesn't matter. They have to obey the government. Now, thankfully, Biden is in charge, and of course, if they did somehow overrule it, Biden would probably not enforce that and let the states do whatever, just like how marijuana is still illegal, but a whole bunch of states have it legalized and all that crap. So, we don't know what to say. Hopefully, they will not get rid of Roe v. Wade, because it's very important. And here's another thing, too, as we gotta mention once again, too, now there's thought of it. To all you people that want to ban abortion because you think it'll lower the amount of abortions, sorry, but you're incorrect. If you did ban abortion, it doesn't get rid of it. It's just going to go underground and make it less safe, and women could die getting it. Like, it's a very serious thing. You know what actually would lower the abortion rate? Safe-sex education. And that's why in states that have same-sex education, abortion rates are much lower. It's all you conservative states that have the higher abortion rates because you refuse to implement safe-sex education. And let's not deny it either, as we keep mentioning all the time too. It's not about abortion that's the problem. They just want to ban this because they don't want women to have rights because they're misogynistic and they want to control women. Like, how do you not see this? It's so obvious. Because if they are pro-life, like they said, they would advocate for same-sex education policies, and they would also be pro the kid after it's born, which, as we've seen too, they are not. So yeah, hopefully they won't overrule it, but we don't know what can happen. And yes, women need to be able to have an abortion, so shut the fuck up, you fucking babies. Alright,
now,
What?
So, yep, the next step would be the bad woke crap from both sides of the aisle.
Alright, so, of course we talk about the woke crap all the time on this show, and one thing I thought about, since it pissed me off recently what happened with Kyle, is that I want to talk about being woke on both the left and the right, to show how bad it is. So, of course, Kyle recently...
Is it about the Latinx thing?
No, I guess you don't know about this. He actually was on Voss just recently, and he talked about this too.
Yes, I heard about this. I've never actually gotten around to watching the damn debate, though.
So, anyways, what happened was, you know Shu, right?
Yes, sure, ass.
So Kyle, Shu tweeted that she's not, excited about any Democratic, presidential candidate in 2024, and Kyle said something along the lines of, what I want for a Democratic nominee is someone who is a populist, will focus on economic issues, and won't go stupid woke and say stupid crap that will hinder their chances of winning. Now, of course, a bunch of fucking leftist retards took it as, Kyle's against social issues and all that crap because he hates the woke and all this stupid crap, and it got me really fucking mad. And of course, it got Kyle very mad to the point where he even did a video on which, where is that video at? He actually covered, there's a, it's the official Women's March Twitter page. They announced... So the Women's March on Twitter revealed their average donations during the week or whatever his tweet was. And guess what their average donation was?
$14.92.
Yep. And of course, you know what that means. People accuse them of promoting genocide, colonization, conquest. Why? Because it's 1492, reference the year when Columbus discovered a new world. So because they mentioned just a figure of money that just so happens to match a certain year, therefore they promote this bullshit.
Certain dates, or else you're promoting genocide.
So I said something the other day.
This is just so stupid, for God's sake. As we're gonna watch Kyle's video on, because this is just really stupid, and I'm fucking sick and tired of leftists defending this bullshit. Because, oh my God, when Kyle was on Voss, his viewers were having a meltdown when Kyle was ripping this apart. And then they got mad because Voss was agreeing with Kyle. Fucking dumbasses.
So I said something the other day. Here, let me read you guys the tweet. I think this is pretty banal. I think this is pretty obvious. I think this is a view that everybody's known I had for years and years. I said behind the president, Schumann had tweeted that I'm not interested in literally any up-and-coming Democrat, any possibility. She said, there is currently not a single Democratic politician or possible candidate that I like or am excited about. Now, that is a sentiment that I share. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Oh, that reminds me, too. I might need to put this in the next episode, but David Dole actually did a video recently. He covered a poll that apparently Bernie's now leading the Democratic nominees right now. Bernie, please run then if that's the case.
I'm not excited about any of them. I'm not really interested in any of them. That's a terrible place to be in, isn't it? So I quote that said, I just want a New Deal Democrat uncorrupted by big money, who isn't stupid ultra woke, and is a leader who gives zero fucks about media and elite backlash, and somehow this is more rare than a Sasquatch. So I said that. And you'd be surprised at the number of people who took issue with that. By the way, I continued and said...
Yeah, Benjamin Dixon had a meltdown about it too, and used id pull on Kyle, which is fucking stupid of him.
Here's the message summed up of a potential...
hate speech, probably.
Ban the wars, give everybody healthcare and higher wages, and if you stand in my way, you're an enemy of the people, and I'll fuck you up politically. That's it. That's the gist. Summed up in one sentence. That's the gist of what I'm looking for. And I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody who really fits this description. Now, the biggest critique that folks have of this sentiment is why'd you put in the isn't stupid ultra woke thing? Well, I have an answer to that. What was in my mind as I added that? This. So this is from the Women's March. They tweeted the following. This was on November 23rd. We apologize deeply for the email that was sent today. $14.92 was our average donation amount this week. It was an oversight on our part to not make the connection to a year of colonization, conquest, and genocide.
You should not have apologized. You did nothing wrong.
They're apologizing for an email where they told people their average donation was $14.92. Because $14.92 might be traumatic and trigger people, and make them think about indigenous genocide, colonization, and conquest, and Christopher Columbus. Now listen, is Christopher Columbus a piece of shit? Oh yeah, all the historical accounts of him he's a colossal piece of shit. And I have no love or sympathy for any of the right wingers who try to rehabilitate him, or Ben Shapiro with that Daily Wire years ago that was like, actually, genocide is good, and like, that's true, and it's also true that this sort of shit is psychotic. People on the left need to realize there's a time and a place to tell people, fuck off, you're being ridiculous.
And then when I tell them that all the time, leftists have a massive meltdown with me, just like they had a meltdown when Sahil covered this video too. And they kept telling me, oh, if you if you use woke, you're just using right-wing framing on it and making the right stronger. No, I'm not. I'm using the reality that this is just woke garbage and needs to be mocked and ridiculed. And there should be no one on the left that defends this. But sadly, there are many that do.
This is one of those times right here. Now, I have another example. She might say, okay, but this is just a one-off. It is not a one-off. This is an actual problem.
And here's another thing, too. Even if it was just indeed a one-off, that one-off is so potent that the right is able to effectively use it against us and cause us to lose. So if that was indeed like a one-time thing, that one-time thing was that bad.
In activist left spaces, it is. Here's another great example of it. Do you remember when Ilhan Omar tweeted about AIPAC? So the Israel lobby. She said, it's all about Benjamins. Now the point she's making is the same point she makes in regards to Saudi Arabia, any of the Gulf states, any corporate lobbies. The point is, they're doing legalized bribery, they're doing corruption, and they give money to politicians, and the politicians do their thing. That's the point. Oh, it's all about Benjamins. With AIPAC, Saudi Arabia gives money to Donald Trump through his hotel, and Donald Trump approves a multi-billion-dollar weapons deal for Saudi Arabia. It's all about Benjamins there. So this is the way Washington works. It's all about Benjamins. She said it in regards to AIPAC, the Israel lobby. And she was immediately accused of anti-Semitism by virtually the media, like all of the media.
That's both left and right-wing cancel culture and woke scolding. And guess what? She's correct. So cry more.
And the entire Republican establishment, and even like
what?
Pope more snowflakes.
We're like, anti-Semitism, you better apologize. That's what this is. And at the time, of course, I'm out there like, are you guys fucking crazy? What she's saying is the most obvious thing in the world. She's talking about corruption. She's talking about legalized bribery. It has nothing to do with the stereotype of Jews and money or whatever. No, it's about they're not magically exempt from the same corruption and legalized bribery that plagues Washington with every other government and every other corporate entity and every other PAC. They're not exempt from that. They can just pull an identity card and hide behind it, and that's what they were trying to do. So I was out there defending. There were a handful of others who were out there defending Ilhan Omar. Saying, are you guys fucking crazy? What are you pretending here? You know who didn't defend Ilhan Omar? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who went out there and tried to split the difference. Oh, we need to hear the voices of the marginalized communities who say they're hurt by the language, and she didn't come to a strong defense of Ilhan Omar. She didn't. Because there's this instinct on the left. Whenever anyone makes a claim of, like, bigotry or xenophobia or hurt feelings, it's like, you must bow at the altar of the bigotry or xenophobia or hurt feelings and always consider it legitimate. Well, what if it's not fucking legitimate? The 1492 shit!
Yeah, Vosh has actually covered this in, like, the last, 2 months or so with, like, black separatists and all that crap. Recently, it's really stupid.
To be upset about that is not legitimate, and there were probably 3 people in the entire fucking country, and the entire activist left ground to a halt because this is stupid ultra wokeness. Now, if you don't see the problem, it's because you don't want to see the problem. That is the problem. Stop pretending it's not a fucking problem. So that's the issue here that I'm talking about. And as long as you have lefties who don't have a backbone and aren't willing to say, okay, now you're being ridiculous, then the left is always going to lose. Because the entire country looks at this and goes, hey, you guys are fucking idiots. Actual voters look at this like, yeah, you guys want to control anything? You guys are children. Always talk about your fifis and how you're hurt. And this isn't what leaders do. Now, does this mean that there's no such thing as racism or bigotry and we shouldn't address systemic inequalities? Of course fucking not. Of course not.
Which we're actually going to be covering in the next video, too.
It's true what I'm saying, which is probably the first thing everybody fucking does. But what it does mean is, don't immediately genuflect at the altar of any criticism of bigotry or xenophobia or hurt feelings or whatever. Every now and then, you gotta puff your chest out and say, you're full of shit. And you can shut the fuck up. You can go right on to shut the fuck upsville.
Yep.
And unfortunately, nobody does that on the left. And so, we're left with, oftentimes we have politicians who might be correct on the economic stuff and on foreign policy stuff, but then, like, any popular support they have, they just blow on the battlefield of wokeness. And again, if you don't see that, because you don't want to see it. Sorry. So, I might get criticism over this segment, but this is a real problem on the activist left. And I've witnessed it firsthand a million times. You gotta remember, back when we founded Justice Democrats, now of course, but they are ours. Don't even get started, they're a joke. But I witnessed it firsthand with Jan Huger, when they dug up his old blog posts, and everybody, the staff literally did a mutiny, and they were like, it's him or us. Because in the year 2000, you wrote jokes on a blog. Don't tell me that's not stupid ultra wokeness run amok. And that's, again, I'm just giving a spring load of examples here. You know that the list is fucking endless. So that's why I made the claim. That's why I said, all I want for president is a New Deal Democrat, uncorrupted by big money, who isn't stupid ultra woke, and is a leader who gives zero fucks about media and elite backlash, And unfortunately, this is more rare than sex.
Or as I would say, a progressive Trump.
Yep.
So yeah, what do you guys say about this so far? Woke scolds on the left being idiots.
Yep. No fucking surprise.
They're
going to get us all killed through climate change.
Yep, they're all fucking idiots. So, yeah, you guys need to shut the fuck up. If you are seriously triggered by a women's march saying that, oh, our weekly average donation was $14.92, and that actually seriously triggers you, go fuck off. You're a fucking whiny baby. You're not to be taken seriously. So now, that was left-wing woke scolds. Now it's time to make fun of a right-wing scold. This time in Tulsi, as we had to make fun of her again. As she said something...
Oh, this bitch is falling.
As she said something pretty dumb, as we're going to watch Sam Cedar for this one. So, of course, here's the backstory on it. I think it was in the last episode we talked about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Well, as I mentioned too, there was another trial that happened just recently, and that was the Ahmed Arbery, I think his name was, which back in 2020, he was a black guy who was jogging on a street, and three white guys pulled up in front of him, confronted him because they accused him of I think it was like invading people's homes and like burglarizing like their stuff and all that. So they confronted him, it got violent, and then they killed him. And what's pretty bad too is that they didn't face any charges for like 70 days. They were free for 70 days, and they only got arrested because of the George Floyd protests, because the outrage was that big, and they were like ignored for that long. So they went to trial, and like a few days, I think, after the Rittenhouse trial ended, they were all charged with murder, and they're facing like life in prison, I think. So great on that. Now, of course, idiot conservatives and idiots like Tulsi too decided to make really numbingly stupid things. Say something really stupid that we have to make fun of her for. So let's go watch Sam.
It's a matter of policy, and look at how cases are adjudicated as they're happening. But these cases have Massachusetts letters as to how functioning our legal system is. They also claimed a self-defense defense. Yeah. And people have contemplated the idea that like I can take a gun, get up into somebody's face for no reason, and if then I'm all of a sudden scared that they're going to attack me, then I shoot them dead, and it's self-defense. I mean,
and if the victim of the murder has a gun, then I'm sure it's like a heads you win, tails, or heads I win, tails you lose situation. Like, oh, that's more reason to fear for your life.
Whoever's dead,
they
were the one who was threatening the person who had killed them because they were threatening them.
Our self-defense laws largely are set up to aid and abet this kind of vigilantism.
Yeah, but that vigilantism wouldn't work if that was like a Trump protest, for instance. Some guy got in your face trying to start you. I'm guessing you probably would have that.
How about this case coming out of Kenosha as well? Crystal Geyser, a black teenager who was essentially coaxed into sex trafficking when she was underage by a white man. She killed him in Kenosha and is being tried right now for that murder. I mean, that's like what people are putting up against the Rittenhouse case, but that's just another example of how self-defense only really applies to a certain segment of the population.
And just overall, like guys deciding, oh, I'm in the crew to kill now. It's hard for me to divorce something about just America where we were never able to pass anti-lynching legislation because that was politically impossible.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's contemplate this. The idea, and again, I didn't watch the specifics of the case, but just broadly speaking, the idea that a man jogging down a street and is chased ostensibly because he doesn't look like he belongs there, he being black, the chaser's looking being white. He's killed, has no weapon. It's all video. And imagine the things you can glean from the idea that these people were convicted. And note that the jury was mostly white, all white.
Mm-hmm. They weren't swayed, it seems, by the toenails argument.
Oh yeah, he had dirty toenails, which of course, imagine what, and also recall that you had all these public statements, or I should say, these statements by the defense lawyers, like, we don't need more black preachers coming in here and sitting, on the side of the family that's grieving. Imagine how, what you could take away from this verdict. I think you could say, like, okay, there are situations where a blatant killing of somebody is held to account, and there are actually 12 white people, I don't know how many people on the jury, 11, who can actually find that to be the case. That's one takeaway you could have. Here's another takeaway. This one is from Tulsi.
Let me just pause and lower this down again. But yeah, well, here we go. We're going to hear what Tulsi says because it's pretty stupid.
Edward, do we have that?
So the jury in the Arbery case got the verdict right today, just like the jury got the verdict right in the Rittenhouse case. These jurors are our peers. They are our fellow Americans. And these verdicts show in both these cases how these jurors had the intelligence and the honesty to make the right decision based on examining evidence and facts, not based on race or politics. So these examples directly undermine the woke narrative that Americans are stupid and racist.
No, Tulsi, it does not. Well, of course, I think let me see how long it goes, see if she says anything else.
If America was a racist country, like some people say that it is, Arbery's killers would not have been found guilty by a nearly all-white jury in Georgia.
Well, yeah, no, Tulsi, that's incorrect, and you're just being woke to say otherwise. Just because, in this case, Arbery got justice for his killing, that does not mean America is not a racist country. There is a thing, because I know a lot of you conservatives are too stupid to understand this, because when you think of racism, you think of only explicit racism, like spewing out the N. Yeah, they think racism is just explicit, like spewing out the N-word, lynchings, the KKK, and all that. But that's not.
I think adult Samson is saying that. I think literally it's only racist when a black person does anything to a white person.
But that's not just what racism is. There's also systemic racism, as we covered in the last episode. So just because Arbery got justice, that does not mean America is not a racist country. There is a lot of racism in this country. Now, she does have somewhat of a point where, as Kyle mentioned too, that America is not like an actual racist country. Like apartheid South Africa comes to mind, but there is definitely. Yeah, but there's still a lot of systemic racism in the country, and you can't just dismiss that just because of the Arbery case.
The country itself was racist.
Yeah. Like, the systemic racism is still there, and you can't just dismiss it because of the Arbery case.
Now, most Americans, people of all races, truly believe in and are inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King's adage. We're all God's children. And as such, we should judge each other based on the content of our character, not the color of our skin.
That's how you know she's completed that full right-wing turn, right? When she's just bastardizing MLK. They love that. It's a rite of passage on right.
And we should also say, this is not like, whoa, I gotta get on the phone and do this. This is a campaign, actually, that she's running here. She did the same thing. She tweeted out more or less the same thing. She went on TikTok. This is her way of her signaling that because the Ahmaud Arbery verdict was guilty, it proves, here it is, the jurors for both, Arbery's murders would not have been found guilty by an overwhelming white jury in the Deep South if America was a racist country. Now, think about how absurd that is.
Yeah.
That for America to be a racist country, you could never have, even in the most blatant of instances, a white jury convict white people of murdering a black person. Even a child understands that that's not the case, right? I mean, even a child. And so you have to start to examine, what is she doing here? And let's just a couple of examples of her saying stuff that seems to be in contradiction to this, but this was back when she wasn't.
Was she if she existed in her current form in 2008, she would have said when Obama got elected it ended racism in America. That's kind of the same stuff, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's an actual argument conservatives use too, that Obama was elected, therefore America is not racist anymore, stupid libtard. That doesn't.
18 years later.
And also, I would say America got even more racist afterwards he got elected because that's all the right would bring up all the time because they're fucking idiots.
But the issue was back in, what, 2016, 2020? When did she...
Well, maybe not like more racist, but they became more open about their racism.
Yeah.
The same with sexism against Hillary. I hate Hillary as much as you want, but it hurts when I have to defend Hillary from these idiots, from these guys.
Because they're...
It's like, please stop fucking me. I have to defend her. Please.
But women can't run for office because they're stupid, remember?
She ran in 2016.
Put up those...
In 2020.
What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today.
How did that happen? Why would that happen?
Yeah, where's that Tulsi at that actually made sense for
It's not a
once?
racist country. But you didn't realize at that time that when those guys killed on that outbreak, that they would be convicted. So, I mean, are we not a racist country if our criminal justice system is unfair to black and brown people? I don't know, what would you call
A lot of
that?
things changed since then, right?
That was almost a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It's not like a Southern jury rules. At what point did she say, like,
Here she is. Criminal justice reform must include strategies for dismantling systemic racism that causes black men to disproportionately receive harsher sentences compared to other races and ethnicities for the same types of crime that was in
Smart
She
Tulsi!
thinks the jury rules in the South became, not racist at all. But I want to just detail here. This is from First Coast News of Brunswick, Georgia. It took police 74 days to arrest Ahmaud Arbery's killers. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says the primary reason for this delayed justice is former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson. For her alleged role in preventing a proper investigation, Johnson 49 was indicted September 8th by a Glynn County grand jury on charges of violation of an oath of public officer. So even in this case, it's not exactly the smooth sailing one you want as a model.
I think the tweet should be, despite the fact that this is a racist country, the Ahmaud Arbery case gives us some hope that there is an opportunity for justice to be served. That would be it.
Yeah, that's a much better tweet.
I am not essentially trying to build my Substack or get on.
Well, this is why we have to be discerning. This is why we have to be discerning about like the kinds of people we bring into the tent of the left. Because just because she went on stage and she had a moment of critiquing Kamala Harris from ostensibly the left, right? No, there is an appetite for criticizing Democrats and an audience for that, and they're not as concerned about the substance of it, and that's why she was able to build up credibility with this very same crowd and able to move to the right, in which she, is doing now.
There's a nice Wikipedia page that you might want to look up. Racial discrimination and jury selection. Just look that up.
Right.
So yeah, what do you guys say about this? Right wing woke crap.
Yep, pretty much.
So yeah.
It's like the shit about CRT and using that to ban teaching that America was leading in any way.
Oh, maybe we need to cover it in the next episode about the CRT ban that Kyle covered earlier today.
Yes.
Well, you type that in while we get to the next topic too. So, what do you want to talk about next? What'd you say?
Homicide destroyed.
Well, do you want? I would rather talk about if we're gonna do the gay stuff first. I'd rather talk about the Canada one first.
Oh yes.
So
conversion therapy.
This is awesome, guys. As David Dole just covered, Canada has just unanimously voted to ban gay conversion therapy, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So for all of you might not know what gay conversion therapy is, it's a debunked, fundamentalist religious, pseudo-scientific belief that you can do. Oh my god, I don't even really want to talk about it because a lot of this shit is really just straight up torture, as Kyle covered years ago, if you remember that. The shit that they have to go through in it. It's really some of it's like really silly and dumb, but a lot of it's just cruel and terrible. But the idea is that they're gonna make you go through this therapy so you'll stop being gay and be hetero. But guess what, guys? That's not how it works. If you are gay, you are naturally being yourself, just like you are naturally heterosexual if you're into men or women if you're the opposite sex. It's just that. There's nothing.
I remember
it's not a choice.
We pushed gay conversion for a long time. He actually came out as gay about 2 or 3 years ago and actually condemned gay conversion therapy.
So yeah, this is awesome that they banned this because not only is it pseudoscience and religious garbage, it's also harmful to the gay community. So let's watch this.
There being no dissenting voice, I declare the motion carried.
A Canadian bill to ban gay conversion therapy passed unanimously. Now, I'll get to more on why this was able to pass, but first, here's the moment that it happened.
Mr. Speaker, I'm asking for unanimous consent to adopt the following motion, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practices of the House, Bill C-4, an act to amend the Criminal Code, conversion therapy, be deemed to have been read a second time and referred to a committee of the whole, deemed considered in committee of the whole, deemed reported without amendment, deemed concurrent.
This, if I'm correct, this video says that was Rob Moore talking. Wasn't he that crazy mayor in Canada? Or do you remember who it was?
Not sure. I don't remember either.
Heard in at the record stage and deemed read a third time and passed.
This being a hybrid sitting of the House, for the sake of clarity, I will only ask those who are opposed to the request to express their disagreement. Accordingly, all those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. There being no dissenting voice, I declare the motion carried.
Alright, so in a second here I'll get to two reasons in particular as to why this was able to pass unanimously. But first, look, I almost didn't cover this because to me this is an obvious thing to do. Like, yes, of course we should ban gay conversion therapy. Lawmakers don't deserve credit for the bare minimum. But the reality is, in this cultural climate, gay rights is not a given. So we shouldn't assume they are. And I think, you know,
like we've covered before, I think it was like 30-something states in America even allow you to be fired if you're gay or trans, for God's sake.
So I think the no, I think those ones still on the still like semi-enforceable, but like it's expensive if they do due to the legal challenge.
But we still have those laws on the books, for crying out loud, and of course, there's still parts of the...
15 states which is still on the books, even if they're not allowed, where you can be fired if you're black.
I'm sure if we looked up, we probably would find it, just like there's 7 states in the country that ban atheists from running for office, remember?
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course...
It's still on the books.
Just like how, like I said earlier, Mississippi or Alabama, one of these states in the South, had slavery legal in their constitution until like 2000. And slavery was already banned for like 150 years. And, and of course, there are many places in the country where gays are still hated. Now, thankfully, as I've covered recently, or I saw the polls recently, outside of like one state that had like plurality, anti-gay marriage, and another one being like 50-50, all the other states in the country are pro-gay rights. I mean, gay marriage, at least. So that's good, but there's still a lot of places in the country that gays and the LGBT community are hated and killed. And that's just in America and, like, in the West where gays are accepted. Go to, like, the Middle East and Africa where gays are freaking killed and exterminated, for God's sake. Gay rights is not over. The fight for gay rights is not over yet in the world. Absolutely not. And guess what? All you fucking whiny leftists that demand, like me and Kyle talk about social issues all the time. Here's me talking about it, but you're still gonna shit on me for it.
Seeing what happened in the U.S. over the past 4 years, we have to keep in mind that certain rights are not just a given, and that we should continue to pursue these rights and ensure that certain things like gay conversion therapy are banned because they're so disgusting and destructive. But you also need to understand why there was no opposition, no real opposition to this. For one, corporations obviously don't care. I mean, they don't want to offend the gay community. Obviously, they employ many members of the LGBTQ community, so they're not going to be opposed to this. But the other reason, and this goes to why it passed unanimously, this from CBC. While Liberal MPs repeatedly thanked leaders in the Conservative caucus for rallying support for the bill, some also acknowledged that another vote on the issue could have been damaging for the Tories. The House's decision to fast-track Bill C-4 means there was no requirement for each MP to record their vote. Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole, who has taken a more progressive stance on LGBTQ issues since becoming leader, said earlier Wednesday that he would once again allow his caucus to have a free vote on the bill, even though 62 Conservative MPs voted against a previous version of the bill. So this is the main reason right here. There was no requirement for each MP to record their vote because it was passed unanimously. So because they aren't, the ones that are against it aren't necessarily on the record as being against it.
Sounds almost like present, like when we criticized AOC about the Iron Dome funding.
Yeah.
So it's like a way of like, we're not gonna vote for it, so we're not gonna support it because we're against it, but we'll not vote against it either. That way we won't face backlash for it.
I mean, this worked out for them perfectly. So whatever. I'm glad it passed.
Yep.
But because this process exists, is I think really the only reason it was able to pass unanimously. That said, I don't want to be too negative in the story. It's a great thing that this happened. It was almost weird to see, Parliament there, applauding each other, shaking hands, all of them in unison on this. That very rarely happens, and if it's going to happen, it's only really going to happen on a cultural issue like this. That said, this is still very important, and it was great to see that this ban passed.
Absolutely, indeed. So, what do you have to say about? Well, I go look up the laws in America about it.
Oh man, yeah, it's a good thing. There's I think most states in Australia have banned gay conversion therapy. We've got more freedom in what the states can do in Australia than America does.
Yeah, because I actually looked it up. There is the map of all where gay conversion therapy is banned, all the states in blue. So, unfortunately, the minority of states have it banned. Thankfully, mine does too. But the majority of the country, it's still legal, unfortunately. Yep. So, just like I'm saying, we got
to torture and kill people for being gay using gay conversion therapy.
This is why we're saying, guys, we gotta keep fighting for gay rights because, as you can see, even the most obvious thing in the world to even honestly like a lot of even like idiot conservatives that gays aren't choosing to be gay, they are just being who they are. The majority of states, as you can see, still allow you to go for gay conversion therapy despite the fact that it doesn't work and it's harmful to them. This should be all the states no, not just all the states. It should be everywhere for crying out loud. Yeah. So yeah, we gotta keep the fight on, and that's why we're gonna actually watch another video that I saw on Reddit the other day. This was pretty funny and awesome too. So it says North Dakota's first openly lesbian official defends, as the link loads, defends her right to be gay. People are obviously not happy with it. Why though? As she said, we don't elect her for her sexual orientation, but for her potential. People need to stop being invasive, dumb, and disrespectful. So,
yep.
So as we said, this is in North Dakota, since I couldn't remember which Dakota was, but this I think it was a town in North Dakota has an official that's gay, and the person that's complaining about it brought up, I think, the rainbow flags. I guess has something to do with flying the rainbow flag, because you know how fucking whiny conservatives are about this crap. And her rant and anger about it is so awesome, as we're gonna play it. Here we go.
About that flag being
Oh, you bet. So, as some of you may not be aware...
And just one point.
Yes, Mr. Walker?
I've heard enough, I'll put my hand up.
Okay.
Just like the mayor does with
Okay.
I'm not waving.
But guess what? You don't get to tell me when I can stop speaking.
Well, I'm going to.
I'm an elected official. You can't do
Can
that.
I do that, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Walker, if she's given the floor, I'm going to give her the 5 minutes just like everyone else,
Okay,
and I
5
will
minutes.
let you finish up your 5 minutes.
And you'll start the clock.
Clock is running.
Please,
I don't need 5 minutes.
Please go
So,
ahead.
Mr. Walker, if you're not aware, and I think a lot of people in this room are not aware, and have come here just because this is a gay issue, I am proudly the first openly elected lesbian in North Dakota. So that is why I'm not paying any heed to your crap. We the people, I'm the people, I live in Minot, I have a taxpayer, I am a person. I get to see myself represented on that flagpole just as much as the people who got the Juneteenth flag last month, as much as the POW MIAs will get later this month. Every single person is entitled to see themselves represented. We are not some group of people who live in San Francisco or Seattle. We are here. We are your elected officials. We are your brothers. We are your sisters. And don't tell me you're not hatred and anger. That's all I feel. I've had to listen to it for days now, as is the mayor and many of my colleagues. It is unacceptable. This city is big enough for all of us. Me having a flag flying doesn't take away anything from your rights and freedoms. But you know what it does for me? It shows me I live in a city that appreciates and embraces me and the people of my community. And that I can live here and feel safe. That's what it does. I'm sorry it doesn't make you feel comfortable. But we're here, we're queer, and we're not going away.
Fucking awesome! That was great! Homophobic piece of shit destroyed to oblivion. Oh, that rant was awesome. Although I was a little bit triggered by using the queer term, since I don't think it's reclaimable for me, but hey, they've reclaimed it so much in that regard. But what do you guys say about that? That was awesome.
That was an awesome rant.
That's what we're saying. That's what I've been saying all the way back when I became politically active, because that's like the first thing I became politically active on was the gay rights. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Learn to deal with it. Why are you offended by people being who they are? Are you offended by people being heterosexual? I mean, it's the same thing. Why are you offended by people flying the rainbow flag? Why does it bug you guys so much? I don't get it. Why do you want to... Oh, you claim to be for freedom, yet you want to control people what they do, if they want to get married or fuck whoever they want? Why does it matter to you? Get over it, you fucking authoritarian babies.
Yeah.
Oh, that rant was so awesome. Just what we needed to see. So anything you need to mention about this?
Not really.
Oh, that was just so great. Alright then. Alright, so you brought this topic up, so what do you want to talk about it about?
Okay, sorry. Let's find it first. Here we go. Sorry. Tim, do you remember a guy by the name of Josh Feuerstein?
Yes, I do. A religious fundamentalist who made a big deal about Starbucks cups.
Yes. So, here's some of the things he said. Radical weapon-free Josh Feuerstein tells Christians, you don't have to wear the mask, you got Jesus. You don't need the vaccine, you got Jesus. He has called church groups cowards for requiring negative COVID tests for entry to conferences, bragged about being unvaccinated, and signed religious exemption forms for anyone attending his events. And guess what? He's got
a Chinese hoax?
Yep, he's got COVID. And apparently, he's actually hitting him pretty hard from what I'm seeing. Because he wasn't at his hyper-spreader preach event.
But Daddy Trump said it was a Chinese hoax, and all I had to do was have natural immunity. Aww.
And of course, he's taking all the fake treatments, of course, hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, which of course don't do anything.
But the vaccines are devil speak, and they're full of microchips. Remember, you silly libtard?
Oh God, it's a phone. You have a microchip in there.
But you're a libtard. How about that? When I got nothing to say, I'll just call you a libtard. How about that? So what other COVIDians we need to
and so, yeah. When it comes to COVID, can we please, we got the new variant now, Omicron. Give it 3 months, and it'll be the dominant strain. I'm going to say it right now. If anyone who is still ranting about Delta by the 13th of March, when Omicron's going to be the dominant strain, is absolutely got no right to ever talk about COVID ever.
So, has there been a updates about the symptoms of the Omicron?
Omicron. Okay, so Omicron seems to be more spreadable,
Which isn't good.
Not as bad in symptoms. So it actually sounds like probably for now a decent endemic strain.
So
hopefully we don't get a Lambda-esque strain that's also super transmissible.
So you
considering the Lambda strain is the one that Peru's got over 200,000 deaths. They have like a 10% death rate with Lambda versus the 2% for the original strain and 3 for Delta.
So more transmissible but less deadly is what you said? And of course, I think Mike covered, I saw a video recently that the vaccine still actually is effective against Omicron too.
Yep.
So, yeah, to all you idiots that still haven't gotten vaccinated yet, hurry up and fucking do it. So, because who knows, maybe the next strain of COVID might be vaccine resistant. Then we would probably have to restart all over again with the vaccine bullshit. And also, the next one might be very deadly, too. We got one that's highly transmissive. Can you imagine one that's highly transmissive and deadly?
The big one that will be really scary is as transmissible as the Omicron variant, able to get past the vaccines like you can, and as deadly as the Lambda variant. That would be... I'm going to say, if the variant comes out, that would be a very good basis for a bioweapon. Just saying.
But, and of course, conservatives and other anti-vax idiots are bioweapons, remember?
Yep.
So, as we have to keep pointing out...
Remember, the two main conspiracy theories on the right, and among anti-establishment journalists, and I put a lot of quotation marks in that one, people like Jimmy Dore to a lesser degree. The Dore's just the tip of the iceberg. Rogan's the big one. I mean, Rogan's bigger than TYT and Crowder combined, so he's got a shitload of reach.
Yeah.
He's pushing anti-vax bullshit.
Which we've covered too, remember?
Yep.
But yeah.
And so, yeah, they're the ones that are extending the pandemic.
Yeah.
And continuing to put the hospital up.
So, as we're going to have to keep saying over and over again, if you want the pandemic to end and not die and be able to just live your life as normal, get fucking vaccinated. All the stats show that they are safe, effective, and help prevent lower the risk of spreading, lower the risk of you getting infected, and lower your chances of dying. So, if you want life to get back...
Hospitalization is still like 85-90%. Even if it isn't great after a while for infection, the lower viral load means that even Delta, for example, you're only going to spread as much as the original strain, which means masks, social distancing. You're pretty good.
And that also
much.
And that also just brought me up recently, not this fall, because I remember Mike covering. Have you been hearing about these vaccine pills instead of the actual vaccine?
Oh yes. They're
I remember
they treat you only once you already have it, and Big Pharma makes more fucking money on ivermectin, these new pills, and monoclonal antibodies, especially monoclonal antibodies, versus getting vaccinated.
Because if I remember correctly, when Mike
recognize that, but he's such a doorknob that doesn't get to his big skull.
Because if I remember correctly, I think when Mike covered it, he said that one, it's not free, and it could be like in the hundreds of dollars, so that's a massive detriment for people to get it. And there's still no evidence from, I think we covered, that it's just as effective or more effective than the vaccine. So,
Exactly.
but here's my question: if there is a COVID pill that's out and is just as effective or even more effective than the vaccine, and it's free and easily for all of you anti-vaxxers and all you idiots that can get it, will you fucking take it then?
No.
I know.
Wouldn't.
I know one thing for sure.
Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin.
Yep. Because guess what? If that's available for me to take and it's safe and it's effective, I will take it. And I have an and if I can take it, why can't you guys take it? I have an actual reason why I can't take vaccines, unlike most of you idiots. For God's sake.
Yeah, that is. I still find that so weird. I still reckon you should get like a allergen test where they test each ingredient to find out what specific ingredient it is that you react so badly to.
Oh, my head. I guess I could think of that, but every vaccine I took in my life always had a terrible reaction to it. But yeah,
It must be something that's pretty common then.
It's what?
It must be something that's pretty common then.
Although it's only 2 in a million people, so I don't know what to say. I'm just that unfortunately unlucky in that regard. But yeah, for all of you else, if you need to fucking take it. If you're able to take it, fucking take the vaccine. And of course, if there's some pills form of the vaccine that comes out and it's safe and it's free and easy for you to get, take that too, and then we can get out of this pandemic and not have to worry about this crap. Alright, so I think we've talked about COVIDiots enough. What else do you want to talk about next?
Donbass.
Oh, God. So,
World War III.
So this one I've been covering a lot over like the last month because it's been...
And I do worry about this one. Here is one of my friends is online, lives in the Ukraine, and is in fact semi-internally displaced in the Ukraine.
Okay, so for all of you who don't remember, we covered this back in April when it flared up. So I guess we'll have to talk about it again. Ukraine and Russia are countries in Europe that are border with each other. Back in 2014, Russia took Crimea away from Ukraine, which is a little island off Ukraine's coast. And it also started up 2 separatist movements in eastern Ukraine that's bordered with them. And there was worries back in April because Russia was moving their troops that were near Ukraine's border, and of course the West like flipped out like, are you gonna invade Ukraine or something like that? And like, no, Russia was like, no, we're just moving our troops around. We covered that, and unfortunately it came up again recently as supposedly Russia has like 175,000 troops within 200 miles of Ukraine itself, and according to American intelligence officials, which I trust with like I don't trust them really at all. They claim that Russia is going to invade Ukraine sometime between January and February coming up. And of course,
Why the hell would Russia start World War III?
Well, we're going
to... That is a point. One of about 4 or 5 right now can start World War III.
Well, we're going to get to that in a moment. And that they think that they'll either... Like, 3 things could happen. They either just would invade, like, eastern Ukraine, like the, breakaways, like the, separatist regions, completely invade Ukraine, completely to annex it, or make it into a puppet state, because Ukraine's trying to move towards the west, remember. Or there was one news site I've been watching lately that they think Russia might be trying to make, like, a new country out of Ukraine, like their, coastline called Novorussia, which is Russian for New Russia and such. Now, there's so much to talk about this. I guess we could talk about, like you said before, well, first off, January and February. I know Russia is probably fit to fight in winter better than probably most, but why would they invade in winter? That seems really weird, don't it?
Yeah, the best they do there is just, rearm the separatists.
Yeah.
Why don't they invade directly? Why don't they send a bunch of guns and munitions to separatist allies in Donbass.
So, and then another thing is too, I think it was like 175,000 troops. That sounds like a lot, but that's pretty small. In fact, Ukraine has 250,000 troops in eastern Ukraine, like right now, so they actually outnumber Russia right now.
Yeah, right. If it was 1.75 million troops, then yeah, you'd probably want to be a bit concerned. Because then they might actually be planning something.
Yeah, like to put this in perspective, like the invasion of Iraq, which I'm going to get to, like comparing like Iraq and Ukraine's like populations, because this is pretty important too. I think the coalition had, I think it was like only like 150,000 troops or something like that. And that's a country that's weaker than probably Ukraine and a little bit smaller population, for crying out loud. If Russia is, and of course, here's another thing too. Ukraine, excluding Crimea, I just looked up the other day, has a population of like almost 42 million people. 175
times out of Australia.
That's like a third, a quarter of Russia's entire population. If Russia seriously did invade Ukraine, 175,000 troops is just not enough to contain all of Ukraine. That would cause a massive like rebellion inside Ukraine, like a massive like civil war, and cause massive problems. And not only that, not only would they suffer problems in that regard, they would have like all of the Western world strongly against them and probably crash their economy if they even try that. So that makes it even more suspicious. Why would they invade? Like, why? Winter.
The most I could think of is that Russia's just like, we still have forces here, and just maybe a show of strength. It's like the only thing I could do, maybe just a show of strength.
Yeah, that's what I think it is too. So the West has been freaking out and worried about this to the point where Putin and Biden actually had a video conference call last week, if you remember. I really wish that we could see that, because I would really love to hear what they had to say about that. But from what we heard, Biden said, if you do anything to Ukraine, we're going to do sanctions and shit on you that we never did when you took Crimea away from them in 2014 and all that. And Putin kept saying, look, we're not doing anything, we're just moving our troops around. They had this discussion like back in April and all that crap. And of course Russia is trying to get like some sort of like deal worked out between them and NATO, because Russia does not want Ukraine to be part of NATO, which Ukraine badly wants to be a part of. Because Vosh...
recently, Ukraine's backed off on it and said, wait another 10 years.
Yeah, we're about to get to that, because I found... Biden did say two things. One, he said America would not send troops to Ukraine if Russia actually did invade them, so that's good in that regard. And he also said Ukraine would not be allowed to join NATO probably for another 10 years at the minimum. And of course, there was another good news thing for me too, because one thing I'm worried about Ukraine joining NATO, not only would it piss off Russia, but I'm worried because since they still view them stealing Crimea, which is their territory in their eyes, I'm afraid if they join NATO, it'll instantly invoke Article 5 and start war with Russia to take Crimea back. But I found out apparently NATO will not allow countries to join NATO unless they have no border disputes. So because of that, so Russia technically, if they really don't want Ukraine part of NATO, they have an actual reason to never resolve this issue of like Crimea or Donbass, because those are border disputes. If Ukraine can't join NATO because of the border disputes, you keep
between NATO and Russia with Ukraine and Belarus.
Yeah, so because of the border disputes, they can't join. So why would they get the issues resolved? Because then Ukraine probably could then join NATO if Crimea and Donbass were resolved. So that's like a pretty that's a pretty negative not double-edged sword's the correct term. I can't think of the correct term. But yeah, it's a really big concern in all that regards. And then, of course, you have idiots like fucking Vosh that actually advocated overthrowing Russia's government by assassinating Putin. Vosh?
Would go, well, dude, That is the perfect way to start World War III.
It's
She's got the fucking KGB. You don't think they go over and fucking take out Biden, take out Macron, take out Morrison, take out Erdogan, take out the head of Saudis.
like
Probably take out whoever's taking over Israel too.
like Fosh and all you idiots. You should know that if you tried to assassinate Putin, that would start war with Russia. And also, the even stupider thing is that it most likely wouldn't even work. And I know a good example of that. Fucking Cuba. Remember when Fidel Castro was in power? We tried... I don't even know how many times, it's so many of them. We even tried to overthrow the government in Bay of Pigs. And guess what? They failed spectacularly. We couldn't even overthrow Cuba, a very weak country to the south of us, when we could literally destroy them in one day if we wanted to. We can't even overthrow their government for decades of trying, yet you think you can overthrow Russia, a much stronger nuclear-armed country that is so far away? Oh my god, how fucking retarded. Sometimes I wonder if he's just like being like an idiot and just saying like stupid edgy shit to just be like some edgy retard or something. Like, god damn. Like,
he's still got the remnants, he's still got bits of him from his time as a fan of Destiny.
oh my fucking god. So stupid. And then of course, he was also making a comparison, because I watched his like whole 20-minute video, because you showed that 40-second clip of him advocating assassinating Putin. Oh my god, he went on forever in that 20-minute video about he was saying like Putin was like Hitler, which no, he's a piece of shit, but he's not doing it.
He's a fascist dictator, but he's not a Nazi.
Yeah, and the West needs to basically he was saying like if we don't like stop Russia, we're doing like appeasement to like Hitler and all that crap. No, not really. No. And it's also a very more dangerous situation than it was with Germany leading up to World War II, especially since they have nukes, remember?
Yeah, Russia's got the second biggest nuclear arsenal.
No, number one, remember?
Oh, yes.
So yeah, they have more nukes than even America, for God's sake. Like, they have to be taken... This is like the fundamental thing that I think Vosh and a lot of people don't seem to understand, because Putin said, we don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO. We don't trust you. We view you as a threat, just like we view like the Baltic states being part of NATO right now as a threat, and just like when you're trying to get Georgia to become part of NATO, you need to respect that. And no
Georgia, and let the Baltic states leave. Because you know if any war broke out, Russia's just going to ram through the Baltic states.
And Ukraine.
Ram through the Baltic states, ram through Belarus.
Well, Belarus would support them, remember?
Yeah, Belarus will just let themselves be annexed into Russia. Then ram through the Caucasus. If Russia doesn't ram through the Caucasus, then the Neo-Ottoman Empire would. How long they'll be able to hold it fighting Russia and Iran, I don't know.
But
Iran will probably be too busy fighting the Saudis.
But here's what a lot of you people need to understand. You, regardless of how we feel about Russia, but you have to take their concerns into consideration, because they are a strong country, even though I think they're weak. I don't even know if they're even the strongest country in Europe if you take out the nukes. What do you think about that?
No, they're no, I don't think they are. I think Germany would probably be number one.
Yeah, I think Germany.
Germany would be number one, and depending on how you define Europe, Turkey would probably be number two.
Russia's not a superpower anymore. They're not a great power. I don't even think they're the strongest country in Europe. But they're still strong enough, and nuclear weapons, where you have to take their concerns into consideration. You can't just dismiss them like some African country that we could just overthrow in a day or something like that. Just like America, too. If America has a concern, everyone has to listen to our concerns, because we have the power to enforce dictate what we want. Russia has some of that power too, and you need to respect that and understand that too. Oh my God. And then of course they want like, oh, we need to go and like force them to give up Crimea. They're not going to. Like eventually you're going to have to accept the fact that unless there's some sort of like diplomatic thing that can happen outside of war, Russia is not going to give up Crimea, and you're eventually just going to have to accept that. They view that as too much of a strategic asset to lose.
The Black Sea.
Yeah.
Also as a possible, also I reckon is a deterrent to the new Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, because that's another thing too. That's like the main reason why they took over Crimea. Not just because it's majority Russian, but Crimea has the majority of their navy. Because remember, Russia's navy is pretty much constrained, both from NATO and because of their climate. Because most of their their coastline is cold. Remember? Yeah. Outside of like Vladivostok, they really don't have anywhere to put their navy at. So to them, it was like a strategic importance that they keep control of Crimea, because beforehand, Ukraine and Russia had a deal where Russia could station their navy down there, and they were afraid that if they got out of Russia's control, they would lose and have like their navy completely destroyed. Well, not destroyed, but hampered, if you get what I'm saying.
They wouldn't be able to use it.
Yeah, like we are against them stealing Crimea, but you can't like take it back. It's not gonna happen.
You understand why they did it, even if you disagree.
Yeah. And then of course, when people brought that up, they were like, "Ugh, that sounds like Germany when they took Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Poland, all that crap." Germany did not have any reason to take that, really. It was just for Lebensraum, remember? Russia has an actual military reason to take this stuff back. And also, like we said, stop trying to compare Putin to freaking Hitler. They're not the same people. Russia is not committing a fucking genocide and shit like that. Just stop. And also, even though I know, and of course another thing too, people keep bringing up, what if they invade like the Baltic states, Poland, Germany, and all that? You do know they're part of NATO, right? So if they did actually invade the Baltic and all that, they would instantly be at war with NATO. So, and also, Putin is not stupid. He's not going to do something that's suicidal to attack all of NATO just to get back the Baltics. Like, Jesus Christ. I can only hope that nothing happens. And of course, watch what happens when January and February comes around and Russia does not invade Ukraine or anything like that. And of course, the intelligence community look like idiots once again, but Vosh,
for the 100 billionth time.
Yeah, but Vosh demands that you must listen to them. They're always correct, and Russia's always lying, and all that crap. How about maybe they're both lying? How about that?
Yeah, I remember that fucking dumpster fire of a debate between Bush and Jackson Hinkle. That was a dumpster fire, and the only way they came out of it in any way beneficiary was Hinkle.
Because Vosh rage quit and lost.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, anything else you need to say about this?
Not really. I think we've covered all the main points.
Alright, so I think we actually, maybe we should do maybe I'll talk about it later because we don't have enough time back, because it's almost 4 in the morning. I really need to go to bed soon. So let's get to the final topic.
Indian farmers strike.
So this is something that I really wanted to look into because it happened last year, and I really can't find much info about it, so I might have to simplify as much as possible. So back last year in India, Modi passed 3 reforms when it comes to like farming and shit like that, because I found out that India has, I can't remember what it's called, but basically they have like a price control system where farmers are guaranteed a certain payment of their crops when they sell them in India, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Modi's reforms was gonna remove these things, which the farmers said, if you do this, this is going to hurt our livelihood because now we're going to be making less money, whereas the guaranteed prices guaranteed us an income to break even. And then another concern was it would allow corporations to come in, take over the farms eventually, and undercut them more and lower the prices even more and fuck over India even more and shit like that, if you get what I'm saying. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So this actually caused a giant strike across India. I think I remember Vosh covering it. It was like, I think up to like maybe I think it was like up to 300 million protesters across India at the peak of it. That's as big as America, for God's sake, for crying out loud. India has like 1.3 billion people. So like a quarter of the entire population as big as America protested this. Because India is still undeveloped pretty much compared to America. So a lot of their population is agriculture workers. So this is really huge for them. And just recently, their Supreme Court struck down some of those laws, and Modi gave up on them just recently. So now those laws are gone. So a big victory for India's farmers.
Yay!
So yeah, what do you gotta say about this?
Yeah, I heard bits and bobs about this.
I actually tried Googling up like what was the main issue about it, and I literally couldn't find anything that talked about it in good detail. That's why I had to sum it up to as best I could. I don't know what it is about like Western media sources that can't like talk about shit in India. It's like so difficult to find anything from there. But yeah, this was like really needed for it to fail because the price controls are needed. They inflate the price, yes, but it helps the farmers stay breaking even at the least. Like if you got rid of them, they would be like poverty stricken even more than they already are. And of course, we definitely don't need corporations fucking them over too and raising prices on their shit, fucking them over even more, and then causing problems with food supplies and all that crap because we know how bad they are in that regard. And of course, you didn't get to really say what you had to say about it.
Well, it's very interesting. I think it's
And actually, you know what? Well, go on.
What?
Go on.
Like, going that huge is praise. It really is.
Yeah. That actually just got me thinking, too, of another place that had price controls, and then when they got rid of them, the economy fell apart. The Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Because, for all of you who don't know, the Soviet Union, being a planned economy, had price controls and all that crap. And that's why, if you don't want to believe the official sources, but according to the sources in the Soviet Union, only like 1% of the country was in poverty.
Yeah.
Although, like I said, you might not believe it or all that crap, but I'm sure it's even if it's not fully true, it's probably a lot better than, like, say, America at that time too. But of course, when the Soviet Union collapsed, it led to, they went full shock therapy, like hardcore, like libertarian, laissez-faire economic policies, and there's another problem, like I mentioned before about like Russia falling apart to like right now with like Putin in that regard. Capitalism in Russia just did not work. Like the economy in like just a few years after the Soviet Union collapsed contracted by like 50%. And that's even when you take account for the Soviet Union losing like all the countries like in Eastern Europe, Central Asia, the Caucasus, and all that. And Russia, I think, even went bankrupt in 1998.
Jeez.
Like and their economy is shit. Life in there has just been terrible to the point where life expectancy, because it's been almost 30 years now since the Soviet Union collapsed, life expectancy for both men and I think women, although women largely recovered, but not men really. Men, I think, in Russia are living like 5 years less than they did when the Soviet Union collapsed.
Jeez.
So men, and possibly women too, are dying sooner now under capitalism in Russia than they were under communism in the Soviet Union. Like eventually you gotta realize that it just didn't work. And that also is what led to Putin being in charge right now. for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Because he brought some stability and started to fix shit a little bit. So now Russia loves him. Although recently, there's another reason why people think why this shit's happening too, because his polling numbers have fallen. He's only like 60% approval, which is very low for him. And which was and this was at the same time before he invaded Crimea, where he was at 60%, and then after he invaded and annexed it, it went all the way up to like almost 90%.
Jeez.
So that might be a reason why it happened too. So, oh my god. Good on India farmers for winning it. That's all I could say.
Pretty much.
Alright, so that... Do you have anything else to talk about?
Not really.
Alright, that'll wrap up this episode here. See you guys hopefully next time for episode 33 very soon, as it's time for me to finally head to bed at 4 in the morning. So see you guys next time.
Yep.